introduce myself and introduce our amazing panel, everyone. This is such a special day. This is End Digital Poverty Day. And digital poverty is very difficult to say in many times during a sentence. So forgive me, I'm trying not to lisp at the same time. But I'm an ambassador, one of the ambassadors for the Digital Poverty Alliance. And it's an absolute pleasure to host and chair this panel filled with some very dear people that I know very well, and some people that you will get to know very well at the end of the session. The idea of this is, my background is the creative arts industry, and I've spent half my life, I guess, in this world. And it was the pandemic that brought to light a lot of the idea of how we need to access a digital world in the creative industries. And I saw a report which happened to be compiled by the DPA and the Royal Society of Arts. And I wrote to the founder, Paul Finnis, and just said, how can I help? Because if I'm working in an industry that's about the creative industries, knowing that there are people who are trying to get into the industry, and the actual way of getting into the industry, we have enough barriers as it is. So if there's any way of bringing digital poverty into digital inclusivity, that would be absolutely magnificent. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to our first panelist, who is Samantha Hornsby. Now we have two Sams, and we have two Ellies, and we have an Annabel. Is there another Annabel in the house, please? Could someone put their Annabel name into the chat, and then we've got a bingo going. But please get involved in the chat, and let's see if we can answer your questions as well, because we've got a host of brilliant people online as well as our panelists. So Sam Hornsby, may I ask you to introduce yourself and what you do?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm Sam. I'm one of the founders of Eric. Eric is an app that helps young people get into the creative industries. So we signpost all of the helpful stuff across the internet that has been posted by different organizations, schemes, programs, stuff like that, that will help young people get access to creative careers.
That's amazing, Sam. I'm going to come back to you. I just want everyone to introduce themselves first. Sam Stanyer, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, good afternoon. So I'm Sam Stanyer. I'm the Senior Operations Manager for Catch-22's digital programs. So programs sponsored by Microsoft, Salesforce, some university ones, but the chief one to talk about today would be TikTok Creative Academy, which is a program designed at taking 16 to 24-year-olds from disadvantaged groups and trying to support them to start a career in the creative industries.
Thank you, Sam. Annabel, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello everyone, my name is Annabel Ashalley-Anthony, and I'm the founder of Melanin Gamers, which is a gaming community that promotes diversity and inclusion in the video games industry.
Fantastic, thank you. And Ellie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Ellie Nixon, Director of Film and Performing Arts at Norwich University of the Arts. My background is mainly in theatre and performance, and I've lived and worked in Central Europe, Scandinavia, and for 14 years in Chile. So South America is deeply in my heart.
Fantastic, thank you. Last but not least, and the most important to start and end this panel session, Ellie Crouch, would you like to introduce yourself and also talk a little bit about how we got to this point today?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm head of digital at the Digital Poverty Alliance, which is a non-profit committed to eliminating digital poverty in the UK. So our mission is to bring businesses, government and individuals together to ensure everyone has equal access to the digital resources, because today's world is completely online. So our mission, I like to think, transcends technology, and it's more about unlocking human potential and fostering inclusivity. So yeah, we got to today because I know that a lot of digital inclusion chat is very pragmatic, and it's more about the sort of real essential services that are online, like applying for universal credit and things like that. But having had so many conversations with individuals like Ri, I realized that creativity is a huge potential that people have, and without access to digital, people don't have that opportunity to explore it. So to foster growth and diversity within these creative industries, it's essential to address digital poverty as a systemic issue and provide access to the technology, education, mentorship and financial support that can help level that playing field.
Ellie, thank you so much. And having been so closely involved with yourselves over the last couple of years, and we've been to the House of Lords, you're getting onto the policy, you're getting into government and policy making as well. And it's a real, it's so exciting to know that there's a way forward as well. And it's that there are barriers, but there are facilitators that can happen. So that is what we call a segue into Sam Hornsby. And I'd love to know about this. We can't assume that all young people are digital natives, Sam. And we've got to understand and realize how can we develop new technology moving so fast? How can we develop our new entrants coming in? And is it a case of no app, no entry?
Yes, I think it's so difficult because the creative industries has always had an issue with privilege, like anyway, historically. And so I think this is one of the new privileges that we're beginning to come to terms with, which is access to the internet. And if we don't do something about it quickly, then, you know, we're going to continue having this issue. It is one of the biggest barriers to access. There are some phenomenal schemes out there, programs, initiatives, accessibility, things going on. I think there is a huge issue, however, when it comes to the young people who actually should be seeing them most aren't seeing them because they don't have access to the internet. One of the only promotional areas that we don't really use flyers anymore. No one knocks on doors, things like that. One of the main methods of communicating these schemes and programs to young people is the internet. But if those young people don't have access to the internet, then essentially we're falling short immediately. And I think more organizations in the creative industries need to be aware and understand of the fact that not every young person has access to the internet. So all of the time, effort and money that we're putting into lots of these schemes are lots of it is wasted time, money and energy because the young people they're intended for aren't actually seeing them in the first place.
I mean, it's just phenomenal to hear about it. And the ERIC app itself, how did that all come about?
Yes, so when my business partner and I were young, so we've actually known each other since we were 8 years old. We met at school, so we go way back. We both struggled to get into the creative industries ourselves. This was kind of before the internet was as mainstream as it is now, I will admit. But, you know, when we kind of went into the working world, we realized that access was still a massive issue for so many people. And May and I have been quite lucky in the lottery of life. If we were finding it hard, I can't even imagine how hard it must be for everyone else out there. So that's when we decided to quit our jobs and basically solve this access issue. We realized after running ERIC in a festival format for quite a long, for a number of years, so we actually used to run events, we actually realized after a while that there didn't need to be more events. Someone needed to highlight to young people how many events were out there, signpost to all of the amazing stuff that exists. So that's literally what we do with the app. We aggregate all of the amazing stuff that's out there, all of the helpful things that can help young people get into the creative industries, and we signpost to all of those things. And we have not just young people using it. This is kind of exactly on the point of digital poverty. It isn't just young people themselves using it, it's also schools, careers teams are using the app themselves as a signposting tool so that they can communicate all of those signpost the young people through the app in a weird, you know, kind of in a chain of signposting. Signpost young people who don't have access to the internet at home to all of the things that the careers teams otherwise wouldn't know exist either.
And it's that career side as well, and the schools and moving up the chain, because the supply chain in the creative industries is immense as well. I'd like to go to Sam Stanyer. Would you very kindly, Sam, be able to, thank you so much, Sam Hornsby. Sam Stanyer, would you very kindly be able to give a little bit of a bio about yourselves and about yourself and your organisation?
Wonderful. Yeah. So Catch 22 used to be the Philanthropic Society. So we're designed to bring sort of business and government contracts together to really have a good impact on the world and demonstrate how things can be done. So our aim is always to kind of take something and demonstrate a different way of doing it. And hopefully that will get adopted. And in this particular case, it's, again, working with TikTok to try and help those young creatives get into work. So our background in this kind of work, so we do so much work across the UK. I think we always have a joke that we're the biggest charity that no one's ever heard of. We work in justice, we work in young people and families, Our employability side, we help, I think it's about 180,000 people a year at the moment. But it's all about helping disadvantaged people, get what they need, whether that be support with their life, whether that's support finding work, or support dealing, with the criminal justice system. But directly in employability, it's all designed to get people into work, which is the bit I work in.
It's just phenomenal. It's so exciting so far. I mean, Sam, the creative industries are very close to all of our hearts, and storytelling is a skill that we all need, and that's coming through in every single avenue. Whereas stories are universal, data is very difficult to access. How can you help with that?
I'd say the basis of our program is there to remove barriers. So I'll give you a quick run through about how the program works. So we would take a young person from a variety of different backgrounds. We have a whole team of people that go out and try and find people who either aren't engaging with provision, or that provision isn't supporting them in the way it needs to be. Might come from community groups, might come from JCP, who've been very supportive. So we take a young person and then put them through a 4-week course with Catch 22, all delivered online, with the idea then to help them shape what the first steps in their creative career need to be. As part of that, we then support them to be able to access that course. So that might be linking them in with different provisions to provide data. It might be providing them with the tech needed to go and do that. What we do find is we have quite a broad choice. I mean, creativity is a big old word, isn't it, for an awful lot of jobs. But the idea is then also to try and link in to the creative world to provide those opportunities for them. So a really good example might be, recently we've done a program with the V&A Museum where we've taken a cohort of 25 disadvantaged young people from around East London, around where they're supporting, taken them and shown them behind the scenes at the V&A, all what the V&A is about, what it's like to work at the V&A, all with the idea of trying to demonstrate that these creative careers are possible. And obviously we're going to now work with those people to try and get them into work. I think we've actually already had 2 of them going to work, which is a nice treat. But in terms of gathering the data, we tend to link into other provision for that.
Okay, thanks so much, Sam. And I think some of our audience online are coming from the British Library, and we've got Arts Council England. I'll have a look at the list afterwards, but I think it's really helpful to know, as you mentioned, the creative industries is a big old world and a big word as well. Sam Hornsby, I know that we've spoken about this. The creative arts means a lot, and part of that is gaming, and part of that is AR and VR. Annabel, this brings me to you. How do you find it? Would you actually, before I jump in with my excitement for wanting to get the answers, would you very kindly just introduce yourself and what you do as well?
Sure. So I'm the founder of Melanin Gamers, and Melanin Gamers does a lot of things. I think everyone can attest to that here. We work on 3 different pillars of gaming, which is what I like to see it. That's esports, that's content creation, and that's working in the industry itself, and trying to make sure that industry is more diverse in those 3 different pillars. Esports isn't as diverse as it should be. None of the pillars are actually, and it's because of stuff like digital poverty. People don't have access to sort of high-end specs when it comes to like PCs or consoles, because it's not just any laptop you can game on. It has to be specific type of laptops that can run these games, because these games are fast-paced. They're done in these something like Unreal Engine. You have to have a very fast laptop. Can get expensive. Gaming can be quite an expensive habit if you're trying to go pro. If you're trying to develop your own game, you also need a very good PC to be able to create that sort of things. And these things are very expensive. And it's from a young age, trying to convince your parent, especially if if you have a Black parent, that if you say something like gaming, that's a leisure activity. It's not something that has anything to do with work. And so to drop $2,000 on, that's just the CPU, the keyboard, the mouse, the monitors, that's all separate payments. So my whole setup is worth about 10 grand. I can afford that, and I had to invest in it. But my brother, he was 18 when he started. He would just game on my age. So he's lucky he had an older sister. But when I was growing up, I didn't, there was nobody else to be like, oh, and I go to my parents, do you guys think you could drop this much money? That was just not happening. And even when I started Melanin Gamers, they were just like, how can you do this? You've thrown away a whole degree for gaming. It's only when we started actually making traction that they were just like, But at least my older sister is becoming a doctor, so it takes the pressure off the rest of us who have alternative careers, as they call it. So it's even convincing people that this is something worth fighting for, which is also what we help in and we talk about quite a lot. Because it's really, it's at that root stage where, is this something that's even worth investing in? Because it's something that you play and it's not work. So there's a struggle on both sides of the thing. So that's sort of what we do when we go into a lot of schools and colleges. And it's just sort of, I guess, convincing the parents as well that no, they're not wasting their time and this is a career path that they can be very passionate about and that they can earn stable income from too.
And your sister will be needing VR because as a doctor and arts in health and all of that immersive technology, she's got the best sister to be able to run some creative coding ideas through as well. I mean, that just goes to show the expanse and the actual need of the coding and that creativity that goes hand in hand. And everyone's so far so inspirational to hear your stories. Ellie, I'd love to hear about what you've done and how it's been helpful or what you've seen in your world in digital poverty. So just a little bit of background about yourself and what you've seen.
Are you talking to this Ellie?
Dr. Ellie Nixon. Dr.
Nixon.
Dr. Nixon.
Well, I think what's fascinating is I've been at Norwich University of the Arts, and Annabel, we offer the courses that you should be teaching on. So we're a creative arts university. We offer BAs in acting and animation, visual effects, architecture, creative computing, games, art and design, and film production. And that's just to mention a few of the courses that we offer. And at the heart of everything we do is this word, creativity, and imagination, and innovation, and exploration. And I would say central to that is play. And part of that play is access to the digital. I mean, we were hit really hard with COVID. I think the film industry reacted very, very quickly and taught us as academics and practitioners some really great strategies. But also, Annabel, we go into schools, we have great access to local schools and colleges who also suffer from digital poverty. And so we have a three-pronged strategy, which is how we recruit, the student experience, and also supporting graduates once they leave, so that it's a continuing relationship.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ellie. Annabel, you spoke about Unreal Engine, and in film as well, we've got virtual production coming through, which uses those types of creative coding that's needed. And I've been on set where I've seen just the amount of technology that's needed. So it's not just about the actual learning the art, it's actually being able to buy that as well. I'm going to go to Sam Hornsby on this and to say, in terms of the app, what type of students coming through, or is it, you mentioned about the age, is it not just young creatives, it's actually those who are in the industry who want to upskill? Is that something you're seeing?
Yeah, so continuous professional development, CPD, for like people who are kind of interning in their junior jobs, stuff like that. I think, you know, this kind of touches upon the digital skills, I guess, conversation, which is kind of adjacent and attached to digital poverty as well. If you have access to technology, then you are more likely to have digital skills. If you don't, then you are less likely to be able to keep up with the labour market needs and things like that. And that is, you know, absolutely apparent across all the creative industries. The great thing about what we do at ERIC is that we are kind of have an eye upon every single one of the 16 creative industries. We collect lots of data on the app about how people are interacting with them, the demographics, things like that. And what we are seeing is definitely that across all of the industries, there is a definite desire or a demand for that CPD. Let's talk about new skills amongst digital marketing, things like, free programs that people can use to gain VFX skills in their free time, things like that. And that all requires technology, access to technology. So if you don't have that, then you are kind of falling at that hurdle as well. We have seen some amazing opportunities. Again, and the great thing about Eric being a kind of like signposter is we see lots of stuff across the landscape. We have seen some incredible opportunities and growing number of opportunities that are supplying tech as well. So training programs, things like that. If it is, let's say, digital marketing, they'll have a note, on the opportunity saying that if you actually don't have access to tech, let us know. We can provide a computer, we can provide the tools, things like that. But it is still a massive issue.
And thank you so much, Sam. Sam Stanyer, is there anything with Catch-22? I mean, you've got the young creatives that are coming through. Is there anything in terms of signposts that you can help with, your organisation? Just got your mic on.
Oh, do you know, I tried to unmute myself and I remuted myself. Wrong choice. I suppose when we're looking at a young person that maybe doesn't have the right equipment to be able to do what their creative output might be, there's lots of organisations that we do tend to signpost to, but I think the thing that we're trying to do is build the resilience to solve those problems themselves. We're upskilling those people to be able to do that. So a really good example of an innovation that we've been using recently is, we're all aware that AI is going to be a dominant force in the near future. And then bringing two of our corporate partners together in Microsoft and TikTok, we've been able to do a sort of upskilling on AI to hopefully get people to sort of jump the queue a little bit and be ahead of the game and where they need to be in that creative output using AI within that. And that's been a really good example about how we've kind of spotted that there is going to be, at some point there is going to be a paywall behind AI effectively in terms of, the super skilled stuff. So it's a matter of trying to build that confidence early to make sure when those hurdles come in that we've got a way around that and we're giving people the ability to have that resilience to solve those problems themselves.
That's amazing, because that is one of the questions, how to go, how do we shift AI from a cost saver to a revenue driver? And how do we do that through accessibility? I mean, in a nutshell, is there anyone that would like to answer that? Sam, is there anything, Sam Stanyer? I saw your, I knew.
I was laughing at it if anyone wants to answer that. It sounded like no was the answer. But no, I suppose I think we're seeing it as an opportunity within Catch-22. We're seeing it as, we've got disadvantaged people that at the moment have already fallen through the cracks. And the chance to be ahead of the curve on getting upskilled on that is a way to effectively be a little trampoline below those cracks to get you back up to where you need to be. But I would say the biggest support we have with that, we've got Salesforce and Microsoft as some of our backers, and they're giving us the tools to be able to upskill people quickly, which is a really nice bonus. And having corporate funders being collaborative is an absolute treat.
And that collaboration is so needed because it comes back to that whole creative industries, which is just, it's not a melting pot. It's just a pot where everyone can gather and merge together. Annabel, it's so interesting to hear how expensive it is to be able to get into the gaming world, and esports is something which needs a bit more diversity and the underrepresented voices that need to come through. What have you seen as facilitators within your world?
What have I seen as facilitators? I don't really mean to.
Is there anything that you can see as a solution to helping those who want to get in? Because I know, from all of us, we will know that there are so many people who want to get into the gaming industry because it has so many benefits for a wider supply chain. Is there anything that could help them get in without so much of the cost?
I think schemes and grants is a good way to start. And also where they recruit, because obviously a lot of these big teams, where they're recruiting are in sort of similar spaces. And of course, they're going to attract a similar demographic. If you're only recruiting from one sort of section, you're only going to attract the people that are there. Grants is a very good way. As I said, it is expensive. I think partnering with maybe gaming arenas, stuff like that, so people can come and see that, is this something that they want to dedicate their time to? Because it's a lot of time being a pro. and trying to get onto that pro ladder. It's not just gaming. It's a different ball game. We're talking about like aim labs, learning mouse and keyboard, or if depending on the game, understanding the mechanics of the game, finding a good team, making sure that you've got the right setup. There's so many intricacies to it. That is this something I want to invest my time into? How will I even know if I want to? You know, before you drop all this money on something, do you like it? How will you know if you like it if you don't get to test it out thoroughly? And I think that's why sort of schemes, grants, and doing all these sort of different things is crucial and very important. And also removing the stigma around gaming being something that's just done in your basement, which we don't even have basements here in the UK. But anyway, but there's always that, like, you have that idea of like some white nerdy kid in his basement sort of hunched over. And I'm like, gamers are not like that at all. And so there's also that you're dealing with, and it being a sport and it being something that they actually have to make sure that they're physically fit to be able to do, because we're talking 12 hours you have to do every single day if you're a pro. My brother's just been, I have 2 brothers, so that just makes it easier because I'll keep referring to different ones. Adam, been signed to a team. And it's just like, he has to now put time in the gym because he has to be physically fit. The way he holds his hand on the mouse is like, I'm just like, this is insane, the level of detail that goes into doing this. And it's also amazing. And I think if people had their eyes opened a bit more about that, it would, I guess, get more people attracted to it, diverse people as well, and in different schools and colleges, because I know that getting this kind of equipment is expensive. And so, you know, schemes, grants from the government, that kind of thing would sort of try to level the playing field a little bit than what it is now.
That's extraordinary, isn't it? When I was doing some research into this, and I was looking at the actual sector itself, it's worth £3.6 billion, and 80% of the games developers are outside of the UK, outside of London. So it's not just London centric. Ellie Nixon, thank you so much, Annabel. Ellie Nixon, is being outside of London. Is there anything that you can see in terms of that world?
Yeah, it's happening all around us, and our student kind of body is changing, diversifying, as is industry, constantly, all the time. We've put in place lots of strategies to support incoming students, and we would also welcome so many, if you've got ideas or ways of helping us to do that. But we loan laptops. We allow students can access hardship funds. They have access to virtual desktop for free. They can access that from home, and we have computer labs open until 9 at night and at weekends. They can access and book out the latest cameras. We've got an equitable booking system with parity of access, and open access to digital editing, Premiere, moving magic, and also sound, because we forget that that's part of the digital, you know, the significance of sound. Specialized technical support is essential in our institution, and our technicians are of equal importance to us as academics, and they provide incredible support and have a deep understanding of the specialised needs for gamers, designers, graphic designers. And it could be something as simple as on the acting course, for example. It's a little bit more equitable now with auditioning. So we teach students how to do self-taping on their phones, and that kind of access, I think, is starting to open up new worlds and new possibilities. So on every level, we're looking for ways to support students and staff too, because you were talking about virtual production, Ri. That is the new world, and staff, we're about to acquire a virtual production screen, and we also have acquired through funding an immersive digital space lab. It's 10-meter kind of circumference and 4 meters high. It's absolutely fantastic for research, for exploring creatively, and that's a resource that we're using locally in terms of coastal erosion projects. We're using it regionally, and we're using it amongst practitioners, academics and industry to get that discussion happening and that kind of collaborative force happening in the Norfolk area and beyond.
Fascinating, Ellie. And I see, you know, I know about that screen, and I just find it's my 28th year in film and TV, and it's just every day is a new day. And when I'm looking at technology like that, I'm thinking, gosh, how exciting. Thank you so much.
I think just I'd like to add that it's a world that, you know, including AI, it's a world that we explore as staff in collaboration with students. We work on projects together, we learn together, and we invite graduates as well who are working in industry to come and work with us, so that there's this sense that we're not working in isolation.
No, thank you so much, Ellie. Ellie Crouch, we come to you. The Digital Poverty Alliance, it's because of yourselves, we're learning so much about how to move forward. What is it that you've seen in the creative industries?
So I've been doing a relative amount of research before this session, because it's actually not an industry I'm particularly familiar with. And I think that a lot of the digital inclusion sphere not overlooks it, but it's not talked about much. So it's not something I've come across. Hence why I wanted a panel of experts who are very much involved to come and join. But from a bit of research, and also hearing the conversations today, like, you guys are all from very different areas, yet the themes are the same. So there's like barriers to entry, access to the tools and software for most of the careers that we're talking about, and also the creative skills that are needed, education and training. So again, with those tools and software, they constantly update, they constantly change, and it's the same within any other industry, I guess, is these skills that evolve, and you need to keep up with it. So the education around that needs to stay up to date as well, and limited access to the resources for the tools and software. I think it was one of you guys mentioned that if you don't have access to the tools, then how are you meant to build those skills? So it can really hamper the ability of individuals looking to get into those industries. And even, again, like Sam, with your app, like the access to the internet, to network, to find those opportunities, it's a huge barrier to overcome, because even with like sharing content and distribution, it's all online these days. So it really restricts the ability to create and distribute and promote yourself as a creative. And then I guess one of the last things is obviously, and Annabel, you touched on this a lot, is the economic disparities with sort of more disadvantaged communities, or even not. It's still such a expensive sort of industry to get into, say videography, gaming. I had no idea how much that costs, but you've opened my eyes to that. And yeah, some people can't afford necessary technology to do essential tasks, let alone be able to follow a passion. I've even found it with our Tech for Families scheme that we do. We distribute laptops to families in disadvantaged communities, and we've had requests for higher spec laptops because they have an interest in Photoshop, or they have an interest in fashion design, and it's just so much higher spec than we can provide at a sort of essential level. So I can't imagine how tricky that is to navigate without those schemes in place in any way. So that's kind of my 2 cents, but you guys will know a hell of a lot more than I do.
Well, we're here because of the End Digital Poverty Day. So thanks to you, Ellie, and thanks to everyone at the DPA. And that does bring me on to, we hear about the barriers and how expensive it can be, and also the passion and following your passion, which is actually where the creative industries come through, is about that passion-based construct. And I'd like to throw this out to all of you on our panel, is how do we get a small digital footprint if there isn't data usage? Is there a sneaky way that we can try and get the upskilling or the new learning in a very big tech space, but is there a smaller digital footprint that could be utilized, do you think? Sam Stanyer, could I ask you first?
So I'm trying to frame the question so I can answer it. In terms of a smaller digital footprint, as in a small output by someone that can potentially grow, is that what you're looking for?
Yeah.
I certainly think that's one of the things that we teach quite a bit in the TikTok Creative Academy, because if you think about where a lot of creative careers start is self-promotion. So building a small digital footprint on a social media platform, not necessarily TikTok, could be any of them, but building that small footsteps can often be the way to grow. We had a fantastic girl come through the program in Liverpool who she'd left university, not got her final degree, had sort of taught herself to be a makeup artist, and building that small digital profile enabled her eventually to start networking and build a good network of people who were MUAs, saw her work, and it ended up leading through to her eventually picking up a job on Hollyoaks, although I still can't believe Hollyoaks is still going, but it was on Hollyoaks.
Yeah, they were. I think they've just won a load of awards at the National Television Awards recently. They're still going. They're still going. And Sam Hornsby. I mean, this is completely Eric, isn't it? How is there any way around? Is there a different way around Eric, or does it have to be with 1 in 20 households not having broadband access? How do you go from there?
Yes, first of all, I love Hollyoaks. I used to watch it all the time when I was younger, so big fan. Okay, so I think so the way that we get around the digital poverty issue in a very, like kind of basic way, it doesn't solve the problem, but it allows access to young people who don't have a phone. Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing that lots of us take for granted that lots of people actually don't have. We work so much with schools, and I think that's really where the solution to all of this lies, like in my opinion, is everyone just needs to be communicating a lot more with kids while they're young, and they actually are listening to the teachers around them at school, because once they get to a certain age they stop listening so much. We need to be working with people as young as possible to communicate about what the creative industries is. For a start, there's a massive issue when it comes to an education of like what that entails. No one really knows what the creative industries is, in the first place. So we need to do a better job of that. What digital skills are needed in the creative industries? Teachers need to be, on board, and we need to be getting them to buy in to communicating all of that to their students as much as possible, and championing those kinds of areas of education that are currently overlooked, underfunded, missed out often completely, because other more technical industries have actually done a really good job of communicating themselves. I always think, it's such a desperate shame that STEM gets so much attention at schools, but I actually can't fault them, because they've just put loads of time, effort and energy into communicating with schools. And rather than the creative industries getting angry about the fact that we don't have as much attention and therefore young people are misinformed about our careers, that we don't get enough funding for creative subjects at school, blah, 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 all this stuff, we just need to put way more effort into less complaining, more doing action and communicating with kids, schools as young as possible. And I think that's really where it starts. That's why everything that we do is free for schools. Everything that we do is free for young people, because we believe that all of the problems really can be solved by just reaching young people earlier, giving them access to stuff.
It is, and there's a real sense. I mean, we're reading recently about the UK Horizons just being given the funding back as well. So there's a lot happening in STEM, and we could utilise that as STEAM and bring the arts into the science as well, because again, we're hearing about health, we're hearing about immersive technologies being needed in so many different supply chains. It's not just a small sector of being at home or being in your basement, Annabel, as you mentioned, whoever has a basement, but it's not just sitting down in a dark room and doing something like that. It's really being able to use this as a career. And Annabel, how do you find this? What could you bring to this?
Well, sorry. I guess it's the work that we do in schools and also community centres. Community centres are also very important in different areas, because depending on people's background, socioeconomic standings, school isn't always a place that they're treated fairly, or people make judgment calls based on different perceptions of them. And so community centres are spaces where people sometimes feel really safe. And so we've done workshops there with young people from different ages, different backgrounds, and that's sort of a space where they feel like they get listened to. So I think definitely putting, because we also work with a lot of schools and colleges, money and education and opening, I guess, teachers' eyes and parents as well, and community centres will really help in bridging that sort of divide. It's all about education and people understanding that this is good for them, or maybe it's something that they want to try. You know, you don't know what you don't know. So it's if we just educate people on these subjects, then they will understand, and that information will also spread. So I think it's really important. Again, youth is also really important. That's what we focus on too. So yeah.
What we've seen over the last few years is a real erosion about community and youth in the community. So we used to have youth clubs. You know, when I was growing up, it would be the summer holiday, all the holidays would be at the local youth club. And not having access to that is so difficult, because where do you go? How do you meet? And how do you access that type of equipment? Ellie Crouch, is there anything in terms of community that the DPA do? I know they do so much with going into, well, giving laptops and giving some kind of accessibility. Is there anything else that happens?
Well, I was going to say less about what we do, because we try not to duplicate efforts, right? So we try and collaborate and like foster those connections for things that already exist. And I'm going to do a bit of a plug here for Leeds Central Library, but there's been brilliant examples of libraries and local spaces. It's kind of like what you said, Annabel, it's that safe space and place that people already go to. So instead of trying to create new places and new points of contact, where do these people already go, especially young people who already need support with digital access? They go into libraries to use the internet, they go into libraries to use the computer. Central Library in Leeds, they have Studio 12. So that's an audiovisual media project providing free access to production studio. So there's so many places where people will already be going for support, especially in our sphere. I'm talking completely from our side of things, and digital support. But I think if we utilize those areas that are already providing that community, then we can really sort of build up connection to the creative industries. And yeah, I've actually used Studio 12 myself to record a voiceover for our corporate video, and it helped me immensely, because I wouldn't have access to that otherwise. I wouldn't be able to afford it myself. So there are schemes in place, but if we could replicate and scale that across the UK, because obviously library services especially are so different in different areas depending on the resources and funding. So if that could be scaled across the whole of the nation, then I think it may be able to boost people's opportunity to play with that equipment. Kind of like Annabel said, you know, you don't want to invest so much time and energy and money into something if you haven't already had a chance to use it and play with it. So maybe if we can provide spaces and opportunities like that, that could be a really great way to get people into it.
It's to get that, it's to follow the passion and get everyone involved and get whole communities involved as well. Ellie, shall we open up to some questions?
Yeah, that sounds great. We've got a couple in the Q&A. Do you want to manage them, or I'm happy to ask them?
Would you like to ask them? I can't see them.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so we have a question from Marla from Skills Enterprise, a charity based in Newham. So how could small charity work in partnership, enabling users to access your services? So how could they partner with the University of Arts and Melanin Gamers and other panel experts to help support disadvantaged youth, so younger and adults from disadvantaged backgrounds? How would they be able to partner with you guys and help users access your services? I'll go to Annabel first.
In terms of working with, is it working with a local charity?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so we've worked with loads of different people across the UK as well, putting on workshops, panel talks on different things in terms of skilling people up, and also providing our network, because that's something that's very important. It's how do I get into this field? What's this field about? That sort of stuff. I think it's, again, I go back to education. When we go into schools and we say, how is a game made? People usually just say, oh, a coder does the whole game, or a programmer. And I'm just like, what about the writer? What about the artists? What about music production? And their eyes light up because they're like, oh, I make beats. I'm like, you could do that for gaming. Do you write? You can do that for gaming. Do you do this? You can do that for gaming. Do you do PR? That's also in gaming industry. And I think it's opening up their eyes. And that's why our workshops are so important. And just working with like different boroughs that we work in London and the UK. We just come back from Birmingham, actually. And so that's also really important in terms of spreading it along and widening our network. So I'm always on board with working with different people to broaden our network. So just reach out and then we can sort of plan something together, you know.
Ellie, I'm
Brilliant.
just going to ask, thank you, Annabel. Paul's got his hand up and wondered if Paul had a question.
I think Paul's got a couple in the Q&A. I don't think we'll turn mics on for participants or anything like that, but I can jump to one of Paul's questions. I just wanted to go to Ellie Nixon briefly.
Yeah, thanks. Just like Annabel, we're always interested in working with different charities and institutions and anybody in local communities. For example, we run a lovely project with the First Light Festival in Great Yarmouth. So we go to these festivals, we run workshops, we give graduates offer workshops to students and also to teachers to skill up. And so we're always really interested in developing those relationships. We're very hungry to do that.
Brilliant, thank you. So we'll come to Paul. He's got a couple of questions in the Q&A. One of them I think is actually a really great one. So are there any creative apprenticeships which offer a digital strand? So not internships, apprenticeships. I guess Samantha might be a good person to come to.
Yes, well, I can give you a really easy answer. Download the Eric app, it's free, and then type in creative apprenticeships and you'll get loads of stuff coming up. So there we go. That would literally, that's what we do. You don't have to scan the internet anymore, guys.
Brilliant. And there's actually another question in the Q&A kind of tied to that, which is how can the government maybe support those looking to get into apprenticeships in creative industries? I don't know if you have an opinion on that, Sam.
Always. So I think the government has actually pledged quite a lot of stuff recently. Obviously, we're all kind of waiting to see if they follow through with it. But I think what more and more apprenticeships, I think, are always needed. Obviously, there's been lots of negative stuff as well around like course cutting and things like that. The reality is that we need young people to have more creative digital skills, right? And so whatever format that comes in, whether it is a university degree, whether it is an apprenticeship, whether it is whatever, like it doesn't matter. We just need more of it. And the government is really the only big body that can change the narrative quickly, and that's what we need them to do. We need more campaigning from the government to like champion creative digital skills, to define what creative digital skills are. I think there's always, as I said earlier, there is always with the creative industries a huge education piece that needs to be done because the creative industries hasn't done it, which is annoying, which I always talk about. But that is, you know, those are some really clear, easy ways that the government can do more and it needs to do more.
And there is that, Sam, isn't there? You and I were talking about this, about how do we make a stand and try and get this to be seen as something. It's a professional industry and it needs to be seen that way via government. Ellie Crouch, sorry, just to interrupt slightly. I've just seen Carl from the Arts Council is here from the innovation team. Hi, Carl. Carl, the Arts Council England are doing a lot with digital signposting as well. I don't know if you can say anything in the chat about that, but if I could ask all of you, do you have any dealings with the Arts Council England, or does that help your organisations? Is it something for new entrants or entrants in the industry to get in touch with? I don't know if we can get Carl in the chat on this, but any of you, do you have any dealings with the Arts Council England or any of that type of governmental? Mm-hmm.
We have a lot. We work very, very closely with Creative UK, who are obviously another trade body, you know, in the creative industries. We would love to get in touch with the Arts Council England. We want more young people, to be honest, to know about all of these trade bodies. I think, again, this is like a big communications issue between the older generations and the new generations coming into the industry, which is you know, you don't know about lots of these trade bodies, organizations, big kind of, you know, movers and shakers in the industry until you get in. So, you know, young people would be very reassured to know where the funding comes from, how much funding there is, all of this kind of stuff that helps reinstate that message that we always come back to, which is the creative industries is rich, it's lucrative, it has lots of careers in them, they're very future proof. That all of that conversation can be made easier if young people are reassured that big bodies like Arts Council exist, because lots of people don't know.
And they've got their digital culture compass as well. So if anyone online would like to look through that, they are signposting, they're showing ways. Thank you, Sam. Ellie, your hand was up.
Yeah, we tend to work with the Arts and Humanities Research Council, who've just given this fantastic grant for our immersive digital lab. But we would love to generate partnerships, because we've talked a lot about school children, young kids, but it's also, particularly working in higher education, those people who are maybe in their early 20s, mid 20s, who've got some skill set, but need a space or an innovation hub where we could support with, which we do with some industry bodies, a space for them to develop themselves in their own time with the skills that they've been learning. And I think that that's something that the Arts Council could really help with.
Thank you, Ellie. And Carl, thank you so much. Very kindly have you've put something in the chat, which is signposting everyone. Thanks. Ellie Crouch, did you have any other questions that needed to be asked?
Yeah, there's still a couple in the Q&A. So another from Paul. So branding for software is partly the lock-in. So if you think about Photoshop skills, not just photo imaging skills, which can be done with a whole slew of free and cheaper software. Now, are there any opportunities that anyone in the panel is aware of for just skills and not just brands?
If I understand correctly, that's what we tend to offer. If we offer online workshops to schools, we tend to use free access software. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah.
We make people aware of what free access software that can be available to them.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Because I think it's one of those things, you sort of see Photoshop skills and you think, oh, I have to have Photoshop to do that. But actually, there is a bunch of free sort of editing software out there. Just having a look here. So we've got a question from Jess Flack. Lovely Jess Flack. I was just on a webinar with her earlier. It would be great if we could look at how something like a digital triaging tool, that's hard to say, that they're creating in Essex could enable young creatives to access the support they need in terms of devices and skills. Does anyone on the panel want to jump in on some ideas, or is that a collaboration that any of you guys might be able to help out with?
I just want to say that Jess Flack is an absolute innovator. And so everyone should follow her on LinkedIn. She's got some really, really interesting projects that she's working on. And I really feel like Jess is a true, innovator. I think that's the best way to say it. She really tries new things. Lots of progress. It's amazing to watch.
That's fantastic. Ellie, any more questions that are coming out?
Not a question, but again, another really good insight from Paul. Paul, you're on fire. Key Stage 3 only gets 1 hour a week of teaching in art and design. Is there something we can collectively do to help create more school creative clubs, sort of Key Stage 2 as well? STEM's benefited, I think this is kind of off the back of you, Sam, STEM's benefited from so much support, but we're still playing catch up regarding to this, so we need to do more work together to help schools. I think that's really true. And even from my experience at school, it was very academic focused and the arts were more of a sideline. So I'd be really interested to hear what you guys think, especially Annabel with gaming. I don't think that that's pushed in schools at all. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you push that with schools and getting that into the narrative?
I think definitely pushing it in schools would be really important, and the different branches of gaming, not just I guess esports. There's also content creations, there's reviewing games, there's writing for games. I think when people think about gaming, they head straight to esports, as opposed to like all the different, actually like becoming a developer, creating a game, and all those different jobs that surround it, writing for games. I wish I knew there was such a career that existed, because I love writing and I love video games. I didn't know there was such a thing as a games writer until I started Melanin Gamers. And I was like, that's a career? So I think, again, it boils down to education. No idea that that was a thing. And there's loads of different careers in the video games industry that people still don't know even now. And we had a tour of Quantic Dreams at Ubisoft Studios in Paris earlier this year. And I was just like, oh my, the things that they were showing us, I was like, all of this goes into making one game. And it was such an eye-opener. And I think if maybe, I don't know if all children can trip down to do studio tours, but virtual tours, or maybe they could come in and give talks to schools. We did a series last year called A Day in the Life. And so we interviewed different people working in the industry, and they just speak about, this is what I do. And people are like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that was a job. And stuff like, I think schools could do things like that. It would really open people's eyes, and they'd be like, oh, that's a career that maybe I could go into. That I think curiosity is so important, and feeding that curiosity at a young age as well, so that people ask questions and get involved. And so I think for gaming, that is what's necessary, pulling back that curtain of mystery as to what's going on in there. It's really important for schools to work with different studios, because they're more than happy to be interviewed. So many of them are like, okay, sure, I'll do an interview for an hour, and they can talk to the young people about what they do and what their studio does, and they'd be interested, because if someone says I'm the head of Fortnite, they'll be so happy. Oh my God, Fortnite, this is how we make it. And that's sort of how you segue in, and you can talk about all of these different things, So, and that's what we do. You sort of dangle the carrot, and they're just like, oh, what's this? And you can learn something, but it doesn't feel like learning to them, because it's fun. So I think that's a way schools can really sort of get young people engaged in these careers at an early stage.
I'd love to jump on the back of that, because in our games art and design course, I think students realise, particularly acting students, that they can be doing the voiceovers, the acting, they can be help writing the narratives, and we do offer workshops to schools so that they can come in and see what we do. We would love to offer more, because I think that's the best stepping stone, giving that kind of sense of experience. But we're also part of Screen Skills. I don't know whether you know that registered charity, which have a lot of online and in-person kind of mixtures, and we're talking with people involved in the film and gaming industry and computer technology industry. So I think that that's a really exciting charity that we really enjoy working with.
Thank you, Ellie. And I've just seen that Tasha, the director at Warner Brothers Discovery's here, and they're doing something phenomenal with getting schools and getting young entrants to come through as well. So thank you so much for joining us, Tasha. It really does mean a lot. We've got 1 minute left of this. Well, actually, it says 0, but I'm going to sneak us all in, Ellie Crouch, if that's okay. I hope everyone online has enjoyed this as much as I have. I'm so grateful to everyone. I'd like just to go round to you all and ask you if there was a call to action of how you could help. May I ask you just to say that in a couple of words? Sam Hornsby, may I start with you?
Yes, I've got quite a straightforward one. We are basically doing an Insights event at the end of this month on the 28th. It's free for anyone to come along to. It's going to be in person or online, whatever your preference is, in London. We are going to be sharing, open sourcing some of the data from our app about how young people are interacting with different creative careers, how any organisations who are looking to talk to young people about creative careers, whether that is as an employer or a charity or an educator, basically you will learn how to do better. So I'm going to put the link in the chat for anyone. Please do sign up for that and come along.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That's exciting. Sam Stanyer, do you have a call to action?
Yeah, I'm going to have a plug as well. I'd firstly say keep collaborating. That's always the key. Every time we collaborate, it seems to get better. And also, don't stop educating outside of schools. We have so many young people that, when did you know what career you wanted to do? I didn't know until much after school. But also, we're running an event in Manchester on September 28th in partnership with Factory International, all about showcasing, how to start a creative career. Feel free, come along. I would say I'll put the Eventbrite in the chat, but I definitely don't have the link to hand. But come along, see our young people, like meet them, find out what they're trying to do. We've got some really good creatives from Manchester coming to demonstrate their skills. But I think it's a really good opportunity to, meet those people who have fallen through the cracks and see what they need to get back on track.
Amazing, Sam. Thank you so much. Annabel, do you have a call to action?
So we don't have one specific event coming up. We have loads, so I don't really know which one to signpost you guys to, but just you can follow me on LinkedIn and probably post some stuff there in terms of collaborating with Melanin Gamers on our the 3 different pillars of gaming. Also, we do consultancy with D&I as well, because it's really important to diversify the gaming industry. It's very much whitewashed, as is lots of industries, but with gaming, it's the younger sibling, so it should be easier to mold. So if you guys follow us, we have a lot of events coming up. Of course, Black History Month is around the corner, so very busy and inundated with stuff like that. But we do events outside of Black History Month, because Black people exist outside of that 1 month. But it's definitely something we take advantage of to make sure that we're really promoting all the things that we do. So I'll put my LinkedIn in the chat if anyone wants to talk to me.
That's so kind, Annabel. Thank you so much. Ellie Nixon, do you have a call to action?
Well, the digital is in everything we do, and I would just like to invite anyone who's interested to contact me or contact us at Norwich University of the Arts. The creative industries, Ri, as you said at the very start of this, is central to how we project ourselves as a country, as a nation, and we would love to be involved in community, charity projects, industry events, and the events that we've got coming up are open days. So do come find out about us on our first open day, the 22nd of September.
Amazing, Ellie. Thank you so much. And Ellie Crouch, we started and we'll end with you. Thank you so much for giving all of us a platform to talk about what we love, and it's absolutely apparent how much we love what we do. Any call to action that the DPA are doing?
Probably 2. So join our community hub and continue the conversation. It would be great to get more people from the creative industries in there and having this conversation, and then it will just build it up into the agenda of hopefully government. We lobby and advocate with government a lot, so it'd be great to get this in more conversations. And then another sort of more personal, I think, call to action is, I know in my career and my experiences, mentorship has been such a huge part of where I've got to. So if you are in creative industries, if you have knowledge that you could share with younger people, maybe consider putting yourself forward as a mentor. Find a young person or community centres or local libraries and see if there's a way that you can get involved with the community to help younger people or older people get into the creative industries. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ellie. And on that note, I'd just like to say thank you so much, Samantha Hornsby from ERIC, Sam Stanyer from Catch-22, Annabel Ashalley-Anthony from Melanin Gamers, Dr. Ellie Nixon from the Norwich University of Arts, and finally, but not least, huge appreciation for the Digital Poverty Alliance. Yay! Thank you so much.
And thank you, Ri, as well. You've been a phenomenal chair. So yeah, thank you very much for your time.
Such a pleasure. I hope everyone online keeps the dialogue going. And if there's any questions, let's all interact and let's do another panel.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.